You are Locked On Sooners, your daily podcast on the Oklahoma Sooners. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Again, thanks for making Locked On Sooners your first listen every single day. Shout out to all the everydayers out there. Tune in and subscribe to the show wherever you get your podcasts. We're free and available on all podcast platforms, so hit that subscribe button and that notification bell to let you know when new episodes drop. All right, going through George Stoya's depth chart projection from Sooner Scoop. We talked about the offensive side in the second segment. Let's dig into the defensive side here. And this is going to be one that's a lot easier to project, that George admits. R. Mason Thomas, Grayson Halton, Jaden Jackson, Marvin Jones are your starting defensive line. I think you could go either way. You could probably say Dominic Williams or Grayson Halton, or Dominic Williams or Jaden Jackson. I think two of those three are going to be your starters. Grayson Halton, Jaden Jackson, Dominic Williams. What happens game one, snap one? That's going to be a question, but I think you could consider those three guys your starting interior defensive linemen. How they parse those starts out, those snaps out, that's still going to be a question. I do believe that David Stone is going to be seeing a huge uptick in snaps. I expect him to develop this offseason significantly and take on a more significant role in the Oklahoma Sooners defensive line rotation. At defensive end, I expect the same thing out of PJ Adebawore. This is the time, man. Got to stay healthy this offseason. Got to continue to develop. Got to start seeing that R. Mason Thomas trajectory, right? Okay, year 1 and 2, you didn't really play a whole lot because you had a hard time staying healthy. Year 3, you're in year 3 now. Now's the time to make the jump. Opposite of those guys, Marvin Jones Jr. and George is projecting a Taylor Wine. Now, that's a dude that I think could play an Ethan Downs type role. A dude that's really good at setting the edge. He's strong. He's long. He's physical. But that Marvin Jones Jr. piece is going to be the one that makes them the biggest difference. If he can come in and add another legit pass rushing threat to the Oklahoma Sooners defensive line, that's going to make them so much better. We've seen it all year long. I've harped on this offseason. South Carolina, Ohio State, you're seeing it right now. When you have the ability to rush two guys off the edge and win with just rushing 4, man, that makes your defense so much more dynamic. We saw the difference, okay? Go back to the end of the Texas-Arizona State game where they rushed 7, I believe, versus the end of the Ohio State-Texas game where they just rushed 4. And Ohio State was able to get pressure with 4. Arizona State wasn't able to get pressure with the blitz, and they got beat. Whereas Ohio State was able to drop guys back into coverage and make Quinn Ewers think about it and really did not have enough time at all because they rushed 4 and they were able to win with 4. We've seen R. Mason Thomas be able to win the same way Jack Sawyer did, right? Under 3 seconds, being able to get to the quarterback and affect the quarterback. If Oklahoma is able to get that out of Marvin Jones Jr. and R. Mason Thomas, man, that just takes their defense to another level for 2025. At linebacker, Kobe McKenzie, Kip Lewis, and if we're going to consider the Cheetah, Kendall Dolby, no real surprise here. If Kendall Dolby's healthy, he's going to be your starter at Cheetah. And then George is projecting that Samuel Omasigo moves more to a traditional linebacker spot, playing the weak side behind Kip Lewis. Now that Lewis Carter is off to UCF, you can slide Samuel Omasigo over there as opposed to playing the Cheetah. Where, listen, I think he did a solid job at Cheetah, but I think he fits better as a more traditional linebacker where you're not going to ask him to cover slot wide receivers. Kendall Dolby and Reggie Powers III. I think that gives you a pretty dynamic Cheetah duo. And then he's projecting Kendall Daniels behind Kobe McKenzie at linebacker. And again, we've seen Brent Venables and his staff want to play a lot of linebackers and a lot of combinations. And so I think Kendall Daniels is going to get a lot of run. You could even see him as a stand-up edge because he did play that in a dynamic way for the Oklahoma State Cowboys. You could see him playing some Cheetah as well. So he'll rotate at several positions, but George has him at linebacker currently. Cornerback, Eli Bowen and Jacoby Johnson, he's projecting to be the starters with Gentry Williams and Devon Jordan. This will be determined by if Oklahoma decides to go and get another cornerback through the transfer portal. But to me, that's fair. You start with Eli Bowen, you start with Jacoby Johnson, because those are the guys that finished the season starting for you. If Gentry Williams is healthy, I think he usurps one of those guys because he's just very, very talented. The only issue has been staying healthy. Gentry Williams has all the ability to be a dynamic player in the Oklahoma Sooners defense. And then at safety, you got Robert Spears-Jennings and Peyton Bowen starting with Michael Boganowski and Jaden Hardy as the backups. And to me, that all seems right. As you continue to get your safety room developed, you'll probably see Michael Boganowski take over for Robert Spears-Jennings after 2025. And then you'll see a rotation between Peyton Bowen and Jaden Hardy in 2026 as well. But I think that safety room is dynamic. The defense to me looks really good. You lose Danny Stutzman, you lose Billy Bowman, you lose Ethan Downs. All of that hurts, but I still really, really like the talent that Oklahoma's got on defense and the ability to be dynamic for the Sooners. Real quick, just going to touch on SEC Mike's power rankings. And it's got the Oklahoma Sooners coming in at number 14 in his power rankings, which I'm not surprised. You know, Oklahoma had a really poor season and only have themselves to blame for where they're going to be going into the next season. But, you know, it's a team that I think has a lot to prove and can be everything that we expect them to be. We've talked about it on a number of occasions that if the Sooners are better offensively, then they can be better than where SEC Mike is projecting them to be, number 14 in the SEC. Finishing the season, that's probably right where they need to be. But right now in his power rankings 1.0, he's got Georgia number 1, Texas number 2, LSU number 3, Alabama 4, Ole Miss 5, South Carolina 6, Florida 7, Tennessee 8, Auburn 9, Texas A&M 10, Vandy 11, 12, Missouri, Arkansas, then Oklahoma. The only two teams behind him are Kentucky and Mississippi State. The only teams maybe I have an issue with here are Tennessee behind Florida. I like what Florida's got going on with DJ Lagway, but Tennessee was a playoff team, and they're bringing back Nico. Did they lose some things in the portal? Yeah, but I expect them to still be really, really good. Also, Auburn above Texas A&M and Vandy and Missouri. I get that they added my guy Jackson Arnold, but my dude needs to go and prove it. He needs to prove that he's a guy that's able to go and lead an SEC team. But Oklahoma coming in at 14 with SEC Mike. Hey, what are we going to be saying all offseason, right? Got to prove it. I can talk about the talent that they've got. I can talk about the depth that they've got on defense, but it's going to be up to John Mateer, Ben Arbuckle, and that offense. If it's a good offense, I mean, they've got the potential to win 9 or 10 games. If it's a lot like what we saw this year, then we might be looking at another 6-6 season in the regular season. My gut tells me it's not going to be like it was this year. But how big of a jump can they make? That's going to be the question that's on everybody's mind for 2025. Can your offensive line be better? Can the wide receivers that you brought in, can they make the jump? Can a Javon Gibson make the jump from the FCS to playing SEC football? Does he got that ability in him? Can they find a tight end that provides a dynamic element to the passing game and can hold up as a blocker? Can the running back room get going early? Can the offensive line get going early? Can we have some stability week 1 to week 13, 14 of the season where we're not churning through offensive line combinations throughout the year? Those are going to be the questions that are on everybody's mind all offseason. And we will continue to discuss them here on Locked On Sooners. So thank you so much for being a part of the show, subscribing to the show wherever you get your podcasts. We're free and available on all podcast platforms. So hit that subscribe button and that notification button to let you know when new episodes drop. You can follow me on Twitter at John9Williams and the show at Locked On Sooners on all your social media platforms. Follow Jay at Unfair Sports and go check out his channel, Unfair Sports, as well. We're going to continue to talk Oklahoma Sooners offseason as we get ready for winter workouts and spring ball. We'll have testing numbers come out and we'll see more offers going out as the Sooners try to start getting those 2026 targets really lined out and figuring out their recruiting board. But until next time, I'm John Williams. Talk to you then. For Jay Smith, Boomer Sooner.